Hey there guys, I am the Six Machine and welcome back to another Warhammer video. So it's here, the Dark Angels Supplement is here, it's up for pre-order right now, so go and check it out if you are a fan of the First Legion. I'm sure by now many of you have seen the reviews and read the articles and so are aware of the many amazing and frankly quite powerful options that the Dark Angels have now. Now I don't get review copies, sad times, but I just wanted to make a very quick video having seen the videos about 5 of the things which I like the most from this supplement. I will clarify this isn't going to be necessarily the most powerful, OP or auto-take things in the codex. It's not strictly a what is strongest in this book. It's just things that I've seen that I personally, as a Dark Angel player, find really fun, cool and interesting. So no, Inner Circle for Blade Guard Vets won't be one of these picks. Yes, it's incredibly powerful and yes, it will make your Blade Guards so difficult to shift, but I don't really use them all that much. My Deathwing is still very much an all Terminator company, so yes, I recognise that that is really great and strong, but is it something that's really cool for me? Not so much. I like it, don't get me wrong, but it's not something that's going to be on my list of favourite things in the Codex. So first up, number 1, Sons of the Lion. The Super Doctrine abilities have always been really exciting for me, seeing what various chapters get as that little extra bonus on top of the basic Space Marine Doctrine abilities, and I was one of those people that always thought, what exactly can they do with Dark Angels, as we are, in effect, 3 armies in one that play so wildly different. It really is difficult to think of one effect that would be worthwhile and impactful for all 3 wings, and that also made sense in terms of which doctrine, Devastator, Tactical or Assault, it would take effect in. Games Workshop have answered our prayers and really do seem to understand that Dark Angels truly are a combined arms force, and people really do want to not just play pure Deathwing or pure Ravenwing, but also a mix, Deathwing and Ravenwing, Ravenwing and Greenwing, or even a tri-wing list of all 3. There is so much variety in the potential makeup and design of a Dark Angels list, it was always going to be difficult to come up with a Super Doctrine design for us. But they have done a really good job in my opinion. We've seen Speed of the Raven and Fire Discipline before, and both are great little buffs for Ravenwing and Greenwing respectively, giving you that extra movement and ability to get up in your opponent's face and also grab objectives turn 1, and then your Greenwing holding the line in the midfield, just daring the enemy to charge them and face not only the deadly blades of the First Legion, but also then taking some incredibly powerful shooting attacks straight to the face. But we now also know that the last Assault Doctrine ability, which, as we predicted, is for the Deathwing, specifically Deathwing Infantry and Deathwing Dreadnoughts, is implacable. As you can see, this gives your Deathwing the ability to reroll wounds against characters or models with more than 8 wounds. And savvy players may recognise this as the Lay Low the Mighty Warlord trait, which came from the Dark Angels Psychic Awakening. This is now a Deathwing-wide ability for the Assault Doctrine, and I love it. It really does go well with the idea of the Deathwing going after those really high priority key targets and characters that may know some information about the Fallen. I just think the whole Sons of the Lion ability fits together so well. And although there are ways to move back or shift doctrines in both the Marine decks and in this supplement, which is very welcome, if your Terminators, for example, want to charge a Land Raider on turn 2, but the order that they have done it in the supplement, like as a basic level, going from the Ravenwing to the Greenwing to the Deathwing, makes so much sense as you, move through the Devastator Doctrine and move your Bikers up, then your Greenwing get into sort of a strong position to hold the line, and then finally your Deathwing arrive to capture the enemy and end the threat once and for all. From that perspective, I just love it. It feels really fluffy and lets you really capture that image of a full combined arms Dark Angel army dropping in to locate and capture the enemy whilst your Greenwing forces fight the overall battle and wage war, while your Deathwing and your Ravenwing are doing these secretive missions to capture the Fallen. Up next, we have the return of weapons from the Dark Age. I know many people were thinking we might lose it, or worried it would change in some way that would make it, basically pointless, and I'm glad to see that it has returned, but in a much more reasonable form. The wording has largely stayed the same and essentially lets you choose a unit and the shots from their plasma weapons get +1 damage until the end of the phase. This is super super powerful. And if you have Inceptors, Hellblasters, Land Speeder Vengeance, Devastators, basically anything with plasma, this is a stratagem that you will be using quite possibly every single turn. And whilst I'll admit I love the stratagem, I do think that auto-use stratagems are sometimes a bit of a negative for the game as a whole. Stratagems, in my opinion, should be things that you really do have to weigh up and consider and really evaluate how you're going to use your command points to make the best tactical decisions. Weapons from the Dark Angels was and still is just one of those that you really don't even need to think about, you just will use it. Assuming you have targets with more than one wound, or else, it just wouldn't make a difference at all. But you just will use it basically every chance you can. What I do like about this supplement is that they've made it 2 command points. I think that is much more reasonable and does, although it's still likely you will be using this as often as you can, it does make you think. If I use this every turn, that's 10 command points over the course of a game, which is a pretty hefty investment. So they have at least tried to make it a bit more of a thing that you need to consider and weigh up. Although I will say 90% of the time, you will still be making use of this at least a good sort of 3 or 4 times a game at least. The chance to just use your Inceptors to melt a Repulsor and a Redemptive Dreadnought in one shooting phase really is just too powerful to overlook. And yes, I did do that one game for the cost of 1 Inceptor lost from overcharging. Was it worth it? Yes, every single time. But I do think that for 2 command points, it's a bit more of a consideration, and I'm glad they kept it. I think people would have been disappointed if they had got rid of it, although Games Workshop do seem to be moving Dark Angels away from just being the quote-unquote plasma chapter. There's definitely a lot more to their sort of like chapter makeup now than just being heavy plasma, but things like weapons from the Dark Angels really were sort of a big part of our identity, so I'm glad they kept it. They've just made it a bit more of a consideration before you use it every single turn. The number 3 thing I like from this supplement is... I was just going to choose one, but I can't. I just love the whole thing. The Warlord Traits are next. We get 10 Warlord Traits. I just love how much unique customization and variety you can do with this supplement. We get the standard 6, which can be taken by anyone and have some absolute belters in there alone. Brilliant Strategist allows you to essentially roll back a doctrine for a friendly Dark Angels unit within 6 inches of the Warlord. Moving Tactical back to Devastator or Assault back to Tactical is absolutely fantastic and could essentially let you keep your Black Knights or Bike Squads, for example, in Devastator Doctrine for 3 turns, allowing them so much movement around the board to, purge the enemy or claim objectives. It's just really useful and really flexible. There are a couple of, ones, Caliber Knight, let's try saying that really fast, giving you always wound on a 2+ against infantry or bikers, and Honor of the First Legion, giving a Warlord essentially Space Wolves intervention. Aren't amazing, but I don't think they're strictly bad. They definitely do have their uses. It's just the other traits are just so much more universally useful, you will probably go with them. But in addition to those 6, we have 2 each for Ravenwing and Deathwing, and some of these are particularly great. The Deathwing ones especially are both super useful, and I imagine if you are bringing a Deathwing list, you will probably be using one of these, if not both. Watched gives you a once per game Deny the Witch against an enemy anywhere on the board, which is just automatically passed. You just flat out deny a power. Sure, it's 1 use only, but that 1 turn of a clutch psychic power going off can basically mess up the enemy's entire battle plan. No Doom, no Catalyst, no Prescience, whatever. All of these things just being auto-denied on that 1 clutch unit on that 1 clutch turn can really swing the battle in your favour. The other one is also great, Inexorable, which means your Warlord subtracts 1 from all damage going into him. Basically, Belial has this one, he has to have it, but basically turning someone like Belial into a 2-up, 4-up invulnerable with -1 to hit in melee, never being wounded on a 1, 2 or 3, and subtracting 1 from damage rolls. He is an absolute tank in melee now. Like, trying to kill him is going to take so much dedicated melee combat, and he hits pretty hard in return, so really, your enemy is not going to want to get into combat with Belial, or in fact any Warlord, Deathwing Warlord that has this -1 damage. It just turns them into such a survivable tanky character between that and the basically always on transhuman. Number 4 on the list is, I mean, to be honest, it's just the whole Interromancy discipline, to be honest. One power is good, Trephination. It's basically a slightly better smite. But the rest, they are all absolutely incredible. The entire discipline is so solid, and even if you were forced to roll your powers, for example in Crusade, I don't think there's a single time that I would be disappointed with what I got. I really don't. I really don't. They're all so useful and so good. But whilst I love the whole discipline, I want to choose one as my favourite thing, and that is Mindworm. Mindworm is quite possibly the best power in the entire game now, ? It's so good, and I love it. Not only because of the effect and the idea of it, like a librarian burrowing into the enemy's mind and just ripping pieces out and tearing away their secrets and memories. You know, it's so grimdark and so Dark Angel-y, but also the effect of the spell on the tabletop is so powerful. Like, I genuinely think this is the most powerful spell in the game. I really do. So the effect of it is that you cause 1 mortal wound on the enemy, you know, cheeky, but the main draw is that your target, an enemy unit within 18 inches, is not eligible to fight until all other eligible units from your army have done so until the start of your next psychic phase. Not just for that phase, until the start of your next psychic phase. So you drop your Deathwing Knights in with a librarian, and he gets this off on the enemy's most killy melee unit. Not only do they not get to fight first, even if they charge into you, but in your opponent's next turn, when you're doing the alternating activations in the combat phase, you can get all your other combats done first, safe in the knowledge that this unit cannot activate until all of your units that can fight have done so. So if you have another combat going on, which is equally important, or you're not entirely sure you're going to survive it, you can be reassured that you can activate that unit first, make sure it gets to swing before the enemy attacks, and then still know that this unit of Deathwing Knights will always get to fight before the enemy's really strong enemy like melee unit. It's basically 2 entire combat phases that you can essentially completely neuter the enemy's strongest melee squad, and that is so potent. I absolutely love this spell, and I will be taking it basically every single game that I play with a librarian. But as I said, every single power in this discipline is good, giving you so many options for debilitating the enemy hit rolls, number of attacks, ability to capture objectives, or even their ability to give out auras. It's such a... what's the opposite of force multiplier? Enemy force divider? We'll go with that. It's such an enemy force divider. The debuffs that it brings are second to none, and it's going to be a very tough pick as to what you will bring as your HQs for Dark Angel lists now, because all of them, captains, lieutenants, librarians, and chaplains, are all so excellent depending on the makeup of the rest of your list. And like I said, the makeup of the spells and the things they do and the fluff behind them are all so, you know, I mean, the discipline is called Interromancy, and obviously Dark Angels love to interrogate people, but it's so fluffy as well. The spells all have really cool fluffy names like Trephination, and they match how you would expect a Dark Angels librarian to act and to be, like digging into the enemy's mind, finding out their secrets, and, you know, basically just shutting them down as best they can to really make your units have that strength over them. It's very Dark Angel-y, it's very fluffy, and I love it, and luckily it's also incredibly powerful on the tabletop. The 5th thing on this list are the Dark Angel Secondaries. They are just fantastic. All 3 of them are solid for your army, depending on whether you're playing Deathwing, Ravenwing, or Greenwing. I think personally the Deathwing and the Ravenwings are possibly the most interesting, with the Ravenwing one, No Mercy, No Respite, being quite possibly the easiest secondary to score in the entire game. It basically states that every time you destroy an enemy unit by a Ravenwing unit that has moved 12 inches or has made a charge, you gain 2 victory points. It's entirely possible and, you know, relatively easy, maybe not to max it out completely, but you could very easily max out the full 15 points in turn 1. If you get some good rolls with your shooting, you really could. Your entire army is going to be moving 12 inches pretty much all the time, and then certainly in the first turn you can advance and shoot, so you can really get up in the enemy's face. You will definitely be killing at least a couple of units every turn, and as I said, your Ravenwing bikers and your Ravenwing units will be moving 12 inches every turn, pretty much without fail, or at least if they're not, they will be charging. So you are going to be gaining points on this every single turn. So all it relies on is just you killing those enemy units. So I could easily see people getting this completely maxed out by turn 2, if not turn 1, with some good rolling. Purge the Enemy is the Deathwing one. This is a little bit trickier to achieve the full points for, but I do think I prefer it from a fluff perspective because it just fits the role of the Deathwing so well. After deployment, your opponent selects a character model from their army, and at the end of the battle, you gain 6 victory points if the enemy model was destroyed by a melee attack made by a Dark Angels model, an additional 3 victory points if that attack was made by a Deathwing or an Inner Circle model, and an additional 6 on top of that if the unit that destroyed the enemy model is still alive at the end of the battle. So this is supposed to indicate the Dark Angels model or unit fighting and capturing the enemy, and then if they survive and manage to drag the enemy character kicking and screaming off the battlefield at the end by still being alive, you've basically captured them and are dragging them back to the rock for the chaplains to interrogate. It's really fun, really gives you that incentive to drop in the Deathwing and make use of their super doctrine for the rerolls against characters to take out that enemy important character and capture him for the honor of the chapter. The secondaries just seem to meet the fluff of the chapter, and in particular the Deathwing, so well, and give you that bit of narrative you can play around with, trying to keep this squad alive after they've slain the enemy character that was chosen, to kind of indicate the fact that they want to keep him alive, and so they don't lose their precious quarry that they've managed to capture. The secondaries overall for the Dark Angels are, I think, some of the best we've seen in the recent 9th edition codexes, and again, Games Workshop have done a great job of mixing solid tabletop interactions and gameplay with the gritty Dark Angels fluff and lore to make both, kind of, whether you're interested in the fluff of it or just the gameplay perspective of it, make both sides incredibly happy with what you need to do to complete these secondaries and sort of the sense of fulfillment you get when you've done them. The last thing I'm going to add to this list, although we've done numbers 1 to 5 now, I'm going to add an honourable mention because I feel like it deserves it. Many of you may disagree with me. I was going to go for something obvious. The Reliquary or the Repentant is fantastic. Dropping your enemy invuln saves is very rare and very clutch in a lot of circumstances. Equally, the Pennant of Remembrance is huge, making your already incredibly tough to kill Terminators even more survivable by giving them an extra -1 damage from attacks against them, basically meaning that if anyone wants to shift a squad of 10 Terminators holding an objective, they're going to need to dedicate probably their entire army's worth of firepower to do so. But no, not for me. Don't ask me why, I can't explain it. I will probably never take it except on very rare occasions, but for me the most fun piece of war gear in this entire supplement? Atonement. Yep. And what's Atonement, you say? Well, it's actually one of the special issue war gear options, and it's just a plasma pistol replacement. That's all it is, but I love it so much. It's 18 inches, strength 9, -4 AP, flat 3 damage, and as it's a plasma pistol, I believe weapons from the Dark Age should work on it, so a flat 4 damage plasma pistol with no possibility to explode and kill your guy. I don't even know. It's so fun and cool, and yes, I know it will never get taken competitively, but it's just so much fun, and the fluff is amazing too. Recovered from a slain member of the Fallen, the machine spirit of this pistol seeks to find redemption by slaying the enemies of the Emperor. I just love the idea of casually one-shotting aggressors or inceptors or eradicators with impunity with this pistol, and I love the fact that using the stratagem marked for command, you can just give this to a sergeant, just like a regular squad sergeant, just going around like one-shotting all these heavily armored infantry models, and the toughest stuff in your enemy's list is just going to be getting one-shotted by this lowly little sergeant with a plasma pistol. It's so hilariously, I mean, it's not even over the top, but I love the idea of it being somewhat over the top, and just this like really powerful plasma pistol being fired off by this completely unassuming guy, and just like all these Terminators and everything just going down, and everyone being like, what the heck is going on here? It's one of those relics that I feel should maybe have been in the Crusade list of relics, but I am very glad that it isn't, to be honest with you. I'm glad that I can just take it and give it to a squad sergeant, or even your successor chapters can take it as well. It's a really good relic, and I love it. I don't know why, I just do. It's fantastic, and it's fun, and yeah, you should definitely try it out. I think everyone should try it out just for a bit of fun. It's definitely my favorite relic in the entire codex. But there we go, some of my absolute favourite things from the Dark Angels Codex. And look, I'm going to be honest, we are in a very good place right now. The Dark Angels has suffered a lot in the past by being underpowered and subpar, And I'll be honest, I'm glad we finally have rules and a book that is not only really strong, because it is, this book is really strong, but also really, really fluffy. Like, Games Workshop seem to have massively gone out their way to make sure that every single Dark Angel player, no matter what wing you like or whether you like playing all of them, for the first time in years, really can bring the list they want to bring and play Dark Angels exactly the way they want to play, and, you know, feel like you're bringing a strong, competitive, fluffy list. Whether you're going pure Deathwing, pure Ravenwing, Tri-Wing, whatever it may be, and you're not forced into any, like, there's no you're not forced into going Tri-Wing to make it the most competitive. Like, pure Deathwing can work, pure Greenwing can work, to be honest. You can do it in any way you want, and you can still make a very solid list. So thank you, Games Workshop, for bringing us such a good, solid codex supplement. I really am thrilled with it. I think it's strong, I think it's fluffy, I think it's got some fantastic background, crusade rules, tabletop rules. Just really, really great job. I am incredibly impressed. This is definitely, I mean, I've been into Dark Angels since 2nd edition, and I've been playing, like, properly, seriously, only since 6th. But, you know, I had the old, what was it, Angels of Death codex supplement thing. So, you know, I know Dark Angels quite well, and this is definitely the best Dark Angels book I think Games Workshop have ever produced. So what are some of your favourite things from this supplement? Are there any parts that you're not keen on? Do you think the Dark Angels are too strong, or did they get a balance just right? Let me know in the comments below, and as always, thank you very much for watching. Until next time, I'll catch you later, guys.